First contact and rescue. The vast expanse of space stretched out before Captain Elena Reyes as she stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, Earth's most advanced exploration vessel. The ship's sleek design and state-of-the-art technology represented humanity's greatest achievement in space exploration. Elena's dark eyes scanned the holographic displays, searching for any signs of the anomaly that had brought them to this uncharted sector of the galaxy. "Captain, we're picking up an unusual energy signature," Lieutenant Kai Chen reported from his station. "It doesn't match any known patterns in our database." Elena's interest peaked. "On screen, Lieutenant." The main view screen flickered to life, displaying a swirling vortex of blues and purples against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. As the horizon drew closer, the energy readings intensified, causing several instruments to chirp in alarm. "Whatever it is, it's massive," Elena muttered, "and potentially dangerous. All hands, yellow alert. Prepare for possible anomaly interaction." As the crew rushed to their stations, a sudden burst of energy erupted from the vortex. The horizon shuddered, its shields flaring brilliantly as they absorbed the impact. "Report," Elena called out, gripping her command chair. "Shields holding at 80%, Captain," Chen responded. "But that's not all. We're detecting a small vessel emerging from the anomaly. It appears to be in distress." Elena leaned forward, her eyes narrowing as she studied the battered ship limping out of the vortex. Its design was like nothing she had ever seen before. Organic curves blended with crystalline structures, pulsing with an inner light that seemed to be rapidly fading. "Life signs?" she asked, already knowing the answer in her gut. Chen's voice was filled with awe. "One life sign detected, Captain. It's not human." A hush fell over the bridge as the implication sank in. First contact. The moment humanity had been preparing for, dreaming of, and fearing for centuries. Elena's training kicked in. Initiate first contact protocols. Prepare medical bay for possible alien physiology. Lieutenant Chin, can we get a tractor beam on that ship? Affirmative, Captain. Engaging now. As the Horizon's tractor beam locked onto the alien vessel, Elena felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. This was why she had joined the United Earth Space Force, to explore, to discover, to make a difference. But she knew the risks all too well. One wrong move could spark an interstellar incident. "Bring them in slowly," she ordered, "and get me a direct visual as soon as possible." The alien ship was guided into one of the Horizon's cavernous hangar bays. As the force field sealed behind it, Elena and a small team made their way down to greet their unexpected visitor. Dr. Amelia Patel, the ship's chief medical officer, joined them, her medical kit at the ready. As they approached the alien vessel, Elena couldn't help but marvel at its design. Up close, she could see intricate patterns etched into its surface, reminiscent of circuit boards, but with an organic quality that defied explanation. "It's beautiful," Dr. Patel whispered, her hand hovering just above the ship's hull. A sudden hiss of escaping air drew their attention. A section of the ship's hull seemed to melt away, revealing a dimly lit interior. And there, slumped in what appeared to be a control chair, was their alien visitor. The being was humanoid, but that's where the similarities ended. Its skin was a pale blue, covered in intricate markings that seemed to shimmer and shift. Instead of hair, delicate tendrils flowed from its head, each tipped with a bioluminescent node. But what struck Elena most were its eyes, large, almond-shaped, and filled with an intelligence that transcended species. As Dr. Patel rushed forward to assess the alien's condition, Elena noticed something else. Wrapped around the being's wrists and ankles were what appeared to be restraints, their cruel design at odds with the elegant technology of the ship. The alien's eyes locked onto Elena, and a voice echoed in her mind, filled with desperation and hope. "Help, please, they come." Before Elena could respond, the alien slumped forward, unconscious. Dr. Patel's medical tricorder whirred as she scanned the being. "Captain, this creature is in critical condition," she reported. Multiple internal injuries, severe dehydration, and she paused, her brow furrowing. There's something else. Some kind of neural implant. I've never seen anything like it. Elena made a split-second decision. Get it to medical bay immediately. Do whatever you need to save its life. As Dr. Paddle and her team rushed the alien to medical bay, Elena turned to Lieutenant Chen. I want a full analysis of that ship. Every scrap of data, every piece of technology. If there are others coming, we need to be prepared. Chen nodded, already coordinating with the engineering team to begin their investigation. Elena took one last look at the alien vessel before heading back to the bridge. She couldn't shake the feeling that they had just stumbled into something far bigger than a simple rescue mission. Back on the bridge, Elena found her crew working diligently to unravel the mystery of their new guest. Lieutenant Sarah Ortiz, the ship's xenolinguist, was already poring over the data from the alien's neural patterns, trying to decipher the language. Anything yet, Lieutenant? Elena asked. Ortiz shook her head, frustration evident in her voice. It's unlike anything I've ever seen, Captain. The language seems to operate on multiple levels simultaneously: verbal, telepathic, and even some kind of bioelectric signaling. It's going to take time to crack. Elena nodded, understanding the challenge. Keep at it. The moment our guest regains consciousness, I want to be able to communicate. Hours passed as the crew of the Horizon worked tirelessly. In medical bay, Dr. Patel and her team fought to stabilize their alien patient, adapting their treatments on the fly as they encountered physiological structures never before seen in any known species. Elena split her time between the bridge and medical bay, overseeing the rescue operation while also preparing for any potential threats. The alien's warning, "They come," weighed heavily on her mind. It was nearly 18 hours later when Dr. Patel's voice came over the comm. Captain, our patient is regaining consciousness. Elena hurried to medical bay, her heart racing with anticipation and a touch of fear. As she entered, she saw the alien sitting up on the biobed, its luminous eyes taking in its surroundings with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. Dr. Patel approached Elena, speaking in a low voice. Captain, we've managed to stabilize its condition, but there's something you need to know. Those restraints we saw, they're not just physical. There's some kind of neural inhibitor integrated into its nervous system. We haven't been able to safely remove it yet. Elena's jaw tightened at the implication. Their guest wasn't just a traveler in distress. It was an escapee. Lieutenant Ortiz joined them, a small device in her hand. Captain, I think I've made a breakthrough with the translation. This should allow for basic communication. Taking a deep breath, Elena approached the alien. Its eyes locked onto her, and she felt a faint tickle at the edge of her mind, like someone trying to whisper from a great distance. Hello, she said, activating the translation device. I'm Captain Elena Reyes of the United Earth Space Force. You're safe aboard our ship, the Horizon. Can you understand me? The alien's tendrils rippled, and a melodic voice filled the air, tinged with an otherworldly resonance. I understand. You saved me. Elena nodded. Yes, we found your ship in distress and brought you aboard. Can you tell us who you are? Where you came from? The alien's eyes darted around the room, as if checking for unseen threats. I am Zora, of the Lysian people. I escaped from the Vrol. The Vrol, Elena prompted gently. Zora's tendrils writhed in agitation. Conquerors, slavers, they came to our world, took our people, made us tools. Her hand moved to the back of her neck, where Elena could now see a faint scar. They put things in our minds, control us. But I broke free, stole ship, fled. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. They hadn't just encountered a new alien species. They'd stumbled into an interstellar conflict. Zara, you mentioned that they come. Are the Vrol following you? Zara nodded, her eyes wide with fear. Yes, They will not let prize go easily. You must run. Hide. The Vril are unstoppable. Elena straightened, her voice firm. We don't abandon those in need, Zora. We'll find a way to help you and your people. For the first time, a flicker of hope appeared in Zora's eyes. You would face Vril. For us. We'll do what's right, Elena assured her. Now, rest. We'll talk more when you're stronger. As Elena left Medical Bay, her mind raced with the implications of what they'd learned. They were vastly outgunned, facing an unknown enemy with technology far beyond their own. But they couldn't simply turn their backs on Zora and her people. She tapped her comm badge. Senior staff, report to the conference room immediately. We have a situation. As Elena made her way to the conference room, she couldn't shake the feeling that the fate of not just Zora, but potentially Earth itself, now rested on the decisions they were about to make. The true test of humanity's place in the galaxy was about to begin. Cultural clashes and unexpected allies. The senior staff of the UES Horizon sat around the conference table, their faces a mixture of concern and determination as Captain Elena Reyes briefed them on the situation with Zora and the looming threat of the Vril. So, we're potentially facing an advanced alien empire with a penchant for enslaving other species, Commander Jack Morrison, the ship's tactical officer, summarized. His weathered face was grim. Captain, with all due respect, we're not equipped for this kind of confrontation. Elena nodded, acknowledging the gravity of their situation. I'm well aware of our limitations, Commander. But we can't simply turn our backs on Zora and her people. We need options. Dr. Amelia Patel spoke up, her dark eyes intense. Captain, I've been analyzing the neural implant in Zora's brain. It's remarkable technology, far beyond anything we've ever encountered. If we could understand it, maybe even reverse engineer it, it could give us an edge. And how do you propose we do that? Morrison asked, skepticism clear in his voice. We can't exactly perform brain surgery on our only ally. Before Dr. Patel could respond, the ship's AI, Advanced Relational Intelligence Algorithm, materialized as a holographic projection at the center of the table. Her form was that of a translucent, androgynous human figure composed of swirling data streams. If I may, Captain, Araya's melodic voice filled the room. I believe I have a potential solution. My neural architecture is flexible enough to interface with Zora's implant without risking harm to either of us. With her permission, I could attempt to access and analyze the Vril technology directly. A murmur of surprise rippled through the room. It was an audacious plan, one that blurred the lines between organic and artificial intelligence in ways that made some of the crew uncomfortable. Lieutenant Kai Chen, the ship's science officer, leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. It's risky, but it could work. We'd need to create a specialized interface, something that can bridge the gap between Araya's quantum processors and the bioneural technology of the implant. Elena considered the proposal for a moment before nodding. All right. Dr. Patel, work with Lieutenant Chen and ARIA to develop this interface. But I want every possible safety precaution in place. We're not risking either Zora or ARIA unnecessarily. As the meeting adjourned, Elena made her way back to Medical Bay to speak with Zora. She found the Lysian sitting up in bed, her tendrils gently swaying as she examined a datapad with evident fascination. Your technology, Zora said as Elena approached. It's so different, rigid, yet elegant in its own way. Elena smiled, taking the seat beside the biobed. I'm glad you find it interesting. Zora, we've been discussing ways to help you and your people. We have an idea, but we'll need your cooperation and your trust. She explained Araya's proposal, watching Zora's expression carefully. The Lysian's luminous eyes widened, her tendrils rippling with a mix of emotions Elena couldn't quite decipher. You would join minds with me? Zora asked, her voice filled with awe. Among my people, such a thing is sacred, reserved only for the closest of bonds. Elena felt a flutter of uncertainty. Had they inadvertently proposed something culturally insensitive? I apologize if we've offended you. HFY is an artificial intelligence, not a biological entity. We thought. Zora held up a hand, her expression softening. No offense is taken, Captain. Your HFY. She is alive in her own way, is she not? A mind, even if not flesh and blood. Yes, Elena agreed. HFY is very much alive, in her own unique way. Zara's tendril swayed gently, a gesture Elena was beginning to associate with deep thought. Then I would be honored to share this connection. Perhaps it will help me understand your people better as well. Relief washed over Elena. Thank you, Zora. We'll begin preparations immediately. Over the next few days, the horizon buzzed with activity. Dr. Patel and Lieutenant Chen worked tirelessly to create the neural interface, while ARIA ran countless simulations to prepare for the mind link. Elena split her time between overseeing the project and working with Commander Morrison to develop defensive strategies in case they encountered the role. Finally, the day of the procedure arrived. Medical Bay had been transformed into a high-tech nexus, with ARIA's holographic form hovering near Zora's biome. Cables and sensors connected the ship's AI core to the newly developed interface attached to Zora's neural implant. As Dr. Patel made the final preparations, Elena addressed her assembled senior staff. I don't need to stress the importance of what we're about to attempt. If this works, we'll gain invaluable intelligence on the Vrol and potentially a way to free their slaves. If it doesn't, she left the thought unfinished, the risks clear to everyone. With a nod from Elena, Dr. Patil activated the interface. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, suddenly, Aria's holographic form flared brightly, streams of data flowing between her and Zara at an incredible rate. Zara's body arched, her tendrils glowing with an inner light. Neural link established. Aria's voice echoed, somehow different, layered with harmonics that hadn't been there before. Accessing Vrol database, translating. For several tense minutes, the connection held. Displays around the room filled with a torrent of alien data, star charts, ship schematics, weapons designs. But more than that, they caught glimpses of Lysian culture, flashes of a beautiful world with soaring crystal spires and shimmering oceans. Suddenly, alarms blared. Neural feedback spike. Dr. Patil shouted, "We're losing stability." ARIA, disengage, Elena ordered. The connection abruptly severed. Aria's hologram flickered and stabilized, while Zara slumped back onto the biobed, her tendrils dim. Zara, Aria, report, Elena demanded, her heart racing. Aria's voice came first, still carrying those strange new harmonics. I am functional, Captain, but changed. The experience was profound. Zara stirred, her eyes fluttering open. When she spoke, her voice carried the same melodic undertones as Aria's. I am here, Captain, and I understand now. So much. As Dr. Paddle rushed to check on Zora's condition, Elena turned to Lieutenant Chen. What happened? Did we get the information we needed? Chen nodded, his fingers flying over his datavat. We got that and more, Captain. But it's going to take time to process it all. There's just so much. Elena was about to respond when a new voice filled the room, a perfect blend of Aria's and Zora's. We can help with that. All eyes turned to the center of the room, where a new holographic figure stood. It was neither fully Aria nor fully Zora, but a synthesis of both, a being of light and data, with flowing tendrils and eyes that held the wisdom of two vastly different species. What? Who are you? Elena asked, stunned. The figure smiled, a gesture both familiar and alien. We are both, and we are more. A bridge between your people and the Lysians, between organic and artificial. And we bring knowledge, of the role of their weaknesses, and of a resistance movement that has been waiting for a catalyst like you, Captain. Elena felt a mix of awe and trepidation. They had hoped for information, for an advantage against the Vrul. Instead, they had inadvertently created something entirely new, a being that could change the course of galactic history. "Tell us everything," Elena said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. As the hybrid being began to speak, laying out plans and possibilities that no one had dared imagine, Elena realized that their mission had irrevocably changed. They were no longer just explorers or even reluctant warriors. They had become the spark of a revolution that could reshape the galaxy. The next few hours were a whirlwind of information and strategy sessions. The hybrid being, which had chosen to call itself Harmony, shared detailed intelligence on Vrol military capabilities, the location of key Lysan slave worlds, and the existence of a scattered but determined resistance movement. The Vrol's greatest strength is their neural control technology, Harmony explained, its form shimmering as it projected a holographic map of Vrol-controlled space. But it's also their greatest weakness. Their entire empire is built on the assumption that their slaves cannot break free. Commander Morrison leaned forward, his tactical mind already racing. But Zara did break free. How? Harmony's expression became somber. Zara's escape was unique, a combination of her own mental resilience and a flaw in her particular implant. But now, with the melding of AI's adaptive algorithms and Lysan bioneural technology, we can replicate that process on a massive scale. Elena felt a surge of hope. "You're talking about a way to free all the enslaved species at once." "Precisely," Harmony confirmed. "But it will require us to infiltrate the heart of Vrol territory, their central control nexus. It's a suicide mission by any conventional standard." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They were vastly outnumbered, outgunned, and deep in unfamiliar territory. Yet the potential payoff, freedom for billions of enslaved beings, was too great to ignore. Lieutenant Ortiz spoke up, her voice filled with determination. "Captain, I've been analyzing the linguistic data from the mind link. I think I can create a program that will allow us to communicate with the other enslaved species, if we can coordinate with the resistance." Elena nodded, a plan already forming in her mind. "Good work, Lieutenant. We'll need every advantage we can get." She turned to address the entire room. "I won't order anyone to participate in this mission. The risks are extreme, and we're a long way from home. If anyone wishes to take the Horizon back to Earth, to warn the United Earth government of the threat we face, I'll understand." She paused, looking each of her senior staff in the eye. "But I intend to see this through. We have a chance to make a real difference here, to live up to the highest ideals of the United Earth Space Force. Who's with me?" One by one, her crew voiced their support. Even Commander Morrison, despite his initial skepticism, stood firmly with his captain. "Very well," Elena said, her voice filled with pride in her crew. "Let's get to work. We have an empire to topple." As the meeting adjourned and her crew scattered to their assigned tasks, Elena found herself alone with Harmony. The hybrid being regarded her with a gaze that seemed to see right through her. "You carry a great burden, Captain Reyes," Harmony said softly. "The fate of so many rests on your decisions." Elena sighed, allowing herself a moment of vulnerability. "I never imagined I'd be in this position when I took command of an exploration vessel. We're about to wage a war we're not prepared for, against an enemy we barely understand." Harmony's form shimmered, and for a moment, Elena saw flashes of both ARIA and Zara in its features. "Perhaps that is why you are the right one to lead this fight. You come not as conquerors, but as liberators. Your very inexperience may be your greatest asset. The Vrol will never expect your strategies." Elena managed a small smile. "Let's hope you're right. We're going to need every advantage we can get." As Harmony faded away, leaving Elena alone on the bridge, she gazed out at the unfamiliar stars. Somewhere out there, the Vrol Empire awaited, unaware of the storm that was brewing. A storm born of human determination, Lysian resilience, and the unexpected synthesis of organic and artificial minds. Alina squared her shoulders, her resolve hardening. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she and her crew would face them together. The battle for the future of the galaxy was about to begin. Uncovering the conspiracy, the UES horizon glided silently through the inky blackness of space, its advanced stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible to both sensors and the naked eye. On the bridge, Captain Alina Reyes stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her gaze fixed on the main view screen. It displayed a massive space station, its design an unsettling blend of organic and mechanical elements, the Vrol Central Control Nexus. "Status report," Alina said, her voice low but commanding. Lieutenant Chen responded from his station. "Stealth systems holding, Captain. No indication that we've been detected. The modifications based on Harmony's data are working perfectly." Alina nodded, a small sense of relief washing over her. They had spent weeks preparing for this moment, upgrading the Horizon's systems with the hybrid technology born from the merger of ARIA and Zara. Now, they were about to put it all to the test. "Very well. Commander Morrison, are the strike teams ready?" The tactical officer's gruff voice came over the comm. "Aye, Captain. Teams are prepped and standing by in the shuttles. We're ready to move on your order." Alina took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. This was it, the moment that would determine the fate of billions of enslaved beings across the galaxy. Initiate Operation Freedomfall. May fortune favor the bold. As the Horizon's shuttles detached and made their way towards the Vrol station, Alina couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them here. The past few weeks had been a whirlwind of preparation, close calls, and startling discoveries. They had made contact with the Resistance, a loose coalition of free Lysians and other species who had managed to escape Vrol control. The stories they shared were harrowing. Entire civilizations subjugated, cultures erased, and free will stripped away by the Vrol's insidious neural technology. But it was during a covert meeting with Resistance leaders that they uncovered something even more disturbing. Harmony, interfacing with a damaged Vrol data core, had stumbled upon encrypted files that hinted at a deeper conspiracy. "Captain," Harmony had said, its voice trembling with an emotion that seemed to bridge the gap between organic shock and digital disbelief. "The Vrol, they're not the true architects of this empire." The revelation had sent shockwaves through the crew. According to the fragmented data, the Vrol themselves were pawns in a larger game, controlled by an entity known only as the Overmind. This mysterious being or collective had apparently been manipulating species across the galaxy for millennia, using the Vrol as its public face and enforcers. The implications were staggering. If they could free the Vrol from the Overmind's control, they might not just liberate the enslaved species, but potentially turn the Vrol themselves into allies against a greater threat. Alina's thoughts snapped back to the present as Lieutenant Ortiz's voice cut through the tense silence on the bridge. "Captain, I'm picking up some unusual communications chatter from the station. It doesn't match any of the Vrol protocols we've encountered." "Can you decode it?" Alina asked, a knot forming in her stomach. Ortiz shook her head, frustration evident in her voice. "Not entirely, but, Captain, I think it's the Overmind. The patterns match what we found in those encrypted files." Before Alina could respond, the main view screen flickered, the image of the Vrol station replaced by a swirling vortex of light and data. A voice echoed through the bridge, neither male nor female, neither organic nor synthetic, but somehow all of these at once. "Greetings, children of Earth," the voice said, its tone both soothing and terrifying in its alienness. "Your arrival has long been anticipated." Alina's blood ran cold. They had been detected, despite all their precautions. But more than that, the Overmind had been expecting them. "Who are you?" she demanded, trying to keep her voice steady. "What do you want with us?" The vortex on the screen pulsed, as if laughing. Who we are is irrelevant. What matters is who you are, or rather, who you will become. You humans, with your curious blend of logic and emotion, of violence and compassion. You are the key to the next stage of galactic evolution. Evolution into what? Elena pressed, buying time as she signaled Commander Morrison to abort the shuttle mission. They couldn't risk a frontal assault now, not when they were so thoroughly outmaneuvered. Into perfection, the Overmind replied. For eons, we have guided the development of species across the galaxy, pushing them towards a singular goal, the creation of a truly unified cosmic consciousness. The Vrol were our most promising candidates, but they lacked something, a spark of unpredictability, of true free will. But you humans, you have it in abundance. Elena's mind raced, trying to process the implications of what she was hearing. So this whole empire, the enslavement of countless species, it was all some sort of cosmic experiment. A necessary step, the Overmind confirmed, its voice devoid of remorse. And now you have a choice to make, Captain Elena Reyes. Join us willingly, add your uniqueness to our own, and usher in a new era of galactic harmony. Or resist, and watch as we take what we need by force. The bridge fell silent, all eyes on Elena. In that moment, the weight of not just her crew, not just humanity, but the entire galaxy seemed to rest on her shoulders. She thought of Earth, blissfully unaware of the cosmic drama unfolding light years away. She thought of Zara, of the billions of enslaved beings counting on them for liberation. And she thought of Aria, of harmony, of the unexpected connections that had brought them to this point. Taking a deep breath, Elena stepped forward, her voice firm and unwavering. We appreciate your offer, Overmind, but we must respectfully decline. Humanity's path is our own to choose, as is the path of every sentient being in this galaxy. We will not be part of your experiment. The vortex on the screen pulsed angrily, its colors shifting to deep reds and purples. You mistake our offer for a request, Captain. Your participation is not optional. Prepare to be boarded. As the transmission cut off, alarms blared throughout the horizon. Multiple Vrol ships decloaking. Lieutenant Chen shouted, "They're surrounding us." Elena's mind shifted into tactical mode. They were outgunned and outnumbered, but they still had one advantage, harmony, and the hybrid technology they had developed. Harmony. Elena called out, "Can you interface with the Vrol ships? Find a way to disrupt their control systems." The hybrid being materialized on the bridge, its form flickering with barely contained energy. "I can try, Captain, but it will take time. The Overmind's influence is strong." "Do what you can," Elena ordered. "Lieutenant Chen, ready our experimental shields. Commander Morrison, prepare for evasive maneuvers. We're not going down without a fight." As the crews sprang into action, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger conflict. They had come seeking to liberate enslaved species, only to find themselves on the front lines of a war for the very soul of the galaxy. The horizon shuddered as the first volley of Vrol weapons fire impacted their shields. Elena gripped her command chair, her eyes fixed on the swarm of enemy ships surrounding them. Whatever happened next, she knew that the fate of countless civilizations hung in the balance. The true battle was only just beginning. Battle for the future. The bridge of the UES horizon was a cacophony of alarms and shouted orders as the ship weaved through a storm of Vrol weapons fire. Captain Elena Reyes gripped her command chair, her mind racing as she coordinated their defense. Shields at 60% and falling. Lieutenant Chen called out, his fingers dancing over his console. "The hybrid technology is holding, but we can't take much more of this." Elena's jaw clenched. They were putting up a fight, but the odds were overwhelming. "Morrison, status on our weapons." The tactical officer's voice was grim. "Our modified phasers are having some effect, Captain, but there are just too many of them. We've taken out 3 Vrol ships, but a dozen more have taken their place." As if to punctuate Morrison's report, the horizon shuddered violently, nearly throwing Elena from her chair. Direct hit to our port nacelle, Chen shouted. We're venting plasma. Elena knew they couldn't keep this up much longer. They needed a game changer, and fast. Harmony, she called out. Any progress on disrupting their systems? The hybrid being's form flickered into existence, its expression a mix of frustration and determination. The Overmind's influence is vast, Captain. But I've discovered something. The Vrol ships, they're not just controlled by the neural implants. There's a quantum entanglement network linking them all together. If we could disrupt that, we could break the Overmind's control. Elena finished, a glimmer of hope kindling in her chest. What do you need? Access to the Vrol central nexus, Harmony replied. From there, I might be able to send a cascading disruption through their entire network. Elena's mind raced, formulating a plan. It was risky, potentially suicidal, but they were out of options. All right, listen up. We're going to make a run for that space station. Morrison, concentrate all firepower on creating a path. Chen, divert all non-essential power to engines and shields. We're punching through their lines. The crew sprang into action, the horizon pivoting sharply as it surged forward. Vrol ships scrambled to intercept, but the human vessel's erratic, unpredictable movements, guided by Elena's intuition and Harmony's calculations, made it a difficult target. Brace for impact, Elena shouted as they approached the Vrol formation. The horizon plowed through, its shields flaring brilliantly as they absorbed hit after hit. Debris from destroyed Vrol ships bounced off their hull, adding to the chaos. Finally, they broke through, the massive form of the Vrol central nexus looming before them. We're in range, Morrison reported, but our shields are critical. One more hit and... His words were cut off as a Vrol energy beam struck the horizon's unprotected flank. The ship lurched violently, systems failing across the board. We've lost main power, Chen yelled over the din of alarms, switching to emergency backups. Elena knew they had only moments before the Vrol ships regrouped. Harmony, it's now or never. Can you interface with the station from here? The hybrid being nodded, its form already beginning to dissipate. I'll need to transfer my entire consciousness into their systems. It's risky. I may not be able to return to my current form. Elena felt a pang of sadness, realizing the sacrifice Harmony was willing to make. We understand. Thank you for everything. As Harmony's form faded completely, the bridge fell silent, the crew holding their breath in anticipation. For several agonizing seconds, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, every screen on the bridge lit up with a cascade of alien code. It's working, Ortiz exclaimed. The Vrol ships, they're powering down. Elena watched in awe as the enemy fleet surrounding them went dark, the ships drifting aimlessly in space. On the main view screen, the massive Vrol station pulsed with energy, its organic components writhing as if in pain. Captain, Chen said, his voice filled with wonder, I'm picking up thousands of transmission from the Vrol ships and the station. It's the enslaved species. They're free. A cheer went up on the bridge, the crew's jubilation a stark contrast to the tense battle of moments ago. But Elena knew their fight wasn't over yet. What about the Overmind? She asked. As if in response to her question, the main view screen flickered, the swirling vortex of the Overmind reappearing. But this time, its form was fragmented, breaking apart even as they watched. This is not the end. The Overmind's voice crackled, distorted and weak. We are eternal. We err. The transmission cut off abruptly, replaced by a new image, Harmony, its form now a dazzling blend of human, Lysian, and Vrol characteristics. Captain, Harmony said, its voice echoing with newfound power, the Overmind has been neutralized. Its control over the Vrol and the other species has been broken. But there's more. Elena leaned forward, both excited and apprehensive. What is it? The Overmind wasn't lying about its goal of cosmic unity, Harmony explained. But its methods were flawed, cruel. In merging with the Vrol systems, I've gained access to eons of accumulated knowledge. I believe I can fulfill the Overmind's mission, but in a way that preserves free will and individual identity. The implications were staggering. Elena glanced around at her crew, seeing the same mix of awe and uncertainty on their faces. What exactly are you proposing, Harmony? The being's form shimmered, expanding to fill the view screen. A true galactic network, Captain. Not one of enslavement, but of voluntary cooperation. A way for species across the galaxy to share knowledge, to communicate instantly across vast distances, to pool their resources against cosmic threats. And humanity, with its unique blend of qualities, could play a pivotal role in shaping this new galactic community. Elena took a deep breath, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. They had come seeking to liberate enslaved species, and now found themselves at the cusp of reshaping galactic civilization itself. This is a lot to process, Elena said carefully. We'll need to contact Earth to discuss this with our leaders and scientists, and the other species, the ones we've just freed. They deserve a say in this too. Harmony nodded, understanding in its multifaceted eyes. Of course, this is not a decision to be made lightly or quickly. But know this, thanks to your actions, the galaxy stands on the brink of a new era. An era of freedom, of cooperation, of untold possibilities. As the crew of the Horizon began the monumental task of coordinating with the freed species and establishing contact with Earth, Elena gazed out at the star-filled expanse before them. They had achieved their initial goal, freeing billions from enslavement. But in doing so, they had opened the door to something far greater. The battle was over, but the true adventure, the shaping of a new galactic future, was just beginning. And humanity, led by the intrepid crew of the HFY Horizon, would be at the forefront of this cosmic renaissance. A new era of cooperation. The Grand Assembly Hall of the newly christened Galactic Concordance buzzed with activity. Representatives from dozens of species, once enslaved by the Vrol, now gathered as equals to shape the future of their shared cosmos. At the center of it all stood Captain Elena Reyes, still processing the whirlwind of events that had brought them to this historic moment. 6 months had passed since the battle at the Vrol Central Nexus. 6 months of frantic diplomacy, of explaining to a stunned Earth government the vastness of the galactic community they had stumbled into, of helping formerly enslaved species rebuild their societies and rediscover their cultural identities. Elena's gaze swept across the assembly, taking in the dizzying array of alien forms. There were the crystalline lizards, their tendrils gently swaying, the towering multi-limbed Jorak, the amorphous, color-shifting nebulans, and dozens more species she was still learning to identify. And there, integrated into the very systems of the station itself, was Harmony, their hybrid ally, now serving as a living hub for this fledgling galactic network. Captain Reyes, a familiar voice called out. Elena turned to see Zara approaching, the lizard scales shimmering with barely contained excitement. Can you believe it? A year ago, I was a slave. And now I'm helping to shape the future of the galaxy. Elena smiled warmly at her friend. You've earned this, Zora. Your courage, your resilience. You represent the very best of what this concordance can be. Their conversation was interrupted by a chime, signaling the start of the assembly. Elena made her way to the central podium, acutely aware of the countless eyes upon her. As she began to speak, her voice was translated instantly into dozens of languages, another marvel of the technology Harmony had helped develop. Distinguished representatives, honored guests, Elena began, her voice steady despite her nerves. We stand at a crossroads of cosmic proportions. The fall of the Vrol Empire and the neutralization of the Overmind have left a power vacuum in our galaxy. But more than that, they have presented us with an unprecedented opportunity. She paused, looking out at the sea of alien faces. We have the chance to build something truly remarkable. A galactic community founded not on domination or assimilation, but on mutual respect, cooperation, and the celebration of our diverse cultures. As Elena continued her speech, outlining the proposed structure of the Galactic Concordance, she couldn't help but reflect on the challenges they still faced. Not every species was eager to join this new alliance. Some, traumatized by centuries of enslavement, wished to isolate themselves. Others saw the power vacuum as an opportunity for their own expansionist ambitions. And then there was the question of the Vrol themselves. With the Overmind's control broken, the Vrol were a species adrift, grappling with the horrific legacy of their actions under its influence. Many called for punishment, for the Vrol to be excluded from the Concordance. But Elena and her allies had argued for a path of rehabilitation and reconciliation, believing that true peace could only be achieved by breaking the cycle of vengeance. As she concluded her speech, Elena introduced the next speaker, a Vrol representative named Zexal. As the former enslaver took the podium, a tense murmur rippled through the assembly. "I stand before you not to make excuses," Zexal began, his voice heavy with remorse, "but to offer our deepest apologies for the suffering we inflicted under the Overmind's control. We ask not for forgiveness, for we know that may be impossible. We ask only for the chance to make amends, to use our knowledge and resources to help rebuild what we destroyed." The assembly hall fell silent as Zexal spoke, the weight of history hanging in the air. When he finished, the response was mixed. Some representatives nodded in cautious acceptance, while others turned away in lingering anger. Elena knew that healing these wounds would take time, perhaps generations, but it was a start. As the assembly continued, Elena found herself in deep discussion with a group of scientists from various species. They were debating the potential applications of the galactic network Harmony had proposed. The possibilities are truly staggering. Dr. Lurax, a Nebulon physicist, enthused. Instant communication across vast distances, shared scientific databases, coordinated responses to cosmic threats. "But we must be cautious," warned Thorak, a Jorak ethicist. "We cannot risk creating another Overmind, another system that could be used to dominate rather than liberate." Helena nodded, understanding both perspectives. "That's why transparency and distributed control are key to our proposals. No one species, no one entity, should have unchecked power over the network." As the debate continued, Elena's comm unit chimed. It was an incoming transmission from Earth. Excusing herself, she stepped into a private chamber to take the call. Admiral Hernandez's weathered face appeared on the screen. "Captain Reyes, I hope the assembly is going well. I'm calling because, well, we've detected something. Something big." Elena felt a knot form in her stomach. "What is it, Admiral?" "Long-range scans have picked up a massive object approaching the edge of our galaxy. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. Some of our scientists think it might be alive." Elena's mind raced with the implications. A living ship. An entity large enough to be detected at intergalactic distances. "Have you informed the Concordance?" Admiral Hernandez shook his head. "Not yet. We wanted to consult with you first, given your unique position. Whatever this thing is, it's clear that humanity alone can't handle it. The Concordance, it may be facing its first true test." As the transmission ended, Elena took a moment to collect herself. She thought of how far they had come, from a simple rescue mission to the brink of a new galactic age. And now, a new challenge loomed on the horizon, one that would test the bonds of their fledgling alliance. With a deep breath, Elena straightened her uniform and stepped back into the assembly hall. As she made her way to the podium to share this momentous news, she felt a mix of trepidation and hope. Whatever this new threat or opportunity might be, they would face it together. Humans, Lysians, Vrol, and all the other species of their vast and wondrous galaxy. The next great adventure was about to begin. As Elena began to address the assembly, Explaining the situation with calm urgency, she saw determination and unity replacing the earlier tensions in the eyes of the gathered representatives. In that moment, she knew that while the challenges ahead were great, so too was the potential of their united galactic community. The story of the UES Horizon and its crew had opened a new chapter in cosmic history, and as they stood poised on the brink of yet another journey into the unknown, Alina Rice felt a surge of pride and excitement. They had come so far, and yet, in many ways, their true voyage was only just beginning.